This video is on special rules of the zero power for exponents. Here, go ahead and take a minute and try your warm-up. Here for my warm-up, I would subtract my powers because they're dividing. They have like bases, so x to the 13th minus x to the 5th, that would give me x to the 8th power. And then my y to the 6th would stay the same, as well as z to the 4th, because there is nothing to subtract them from. This next one, I would want to combine the top terms by adding their exponents, since they're multiplying next to each other. So I would take the 2 and the 7, and that gets me a 9, so I would have b to the 9th. Then I would have to subtract, because I'm dividing the exponents of the a's. 3 minus 2, this would end up just being a to the 1st power and then b to the 9th power. On this last one, this was kind of tricky. With the 2 and the 3, we're just going to leave that as the fraction 2/3. Then I've got c to the 12th over c to the 3rd. That would get me c to the 9th. And then the d, as nothing subtracted, would just stay there. That would be the final answer for the third warm-up. Don't worry too much about these big numbers out front. These coefficients, as we call them, what we do is we divide the coefficients if they do not have, or if they're not powers. Okay? So we talk about dividing powers with the same base. When you divide powers with the same base, you subtract your exponents. Let's get a nice comet green in there. You subtract your exponents. Okay? So we're trying these and we're noticing some things. Some things are happening here. When I combine up top, when I do 13 plus 6 on the top, that gets me x to the 19th on the top. But it also gets me x to the 19th on the bottom. When those cancel out, that just gets me x to the 0 power. Same here, y to the 6, y to the 6, those cancel out and give me y to the 0 power. I got x squared and x to the 3rd. That would give me x to the 5th up top. And on the bottom, y squared, y to the 1st, that gets me y to the 3rd. On the top as well. Well, now the top, once you simplify it, matches the same as the bottom. That means these are going to cancel out on the top and bottom. So those cancel. This would be x to the 0, y to the 0. Well, this is weird. Things are going to the 0 power. So what pattern? What is the exponent of your new power? All of our exponents to the new power have been 0. What was the answer to all of those numbers to that exponent? Here's our rule. It's not going to be 0. Okay? So anything to the 0 power is going to get us 1. Okay? So our rule is any base to the 0 power equals 1. Okay? So I'm going to write one down here, like c to the 0 power equals 1. 25 to the 0 power equals 1. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. Okay? Let's do some practice ones. Go ahead, pause it here on your video and try to complete these 9. Then you can resume and watch me go through the answers. Okay, let's go through some of the answers. Number 1, 16 to the 0 power. That's just 1. Now 5 to the x to the 0 power. This means 5 times x to the 0 power. Well, if x to the 0 power, if that equals 1, this is basically saying what's 5 times 1? The answer to number 2 would just be 5. Okay. 3 inside the parentheses, okay, says negative 12 to the 0 power. This would just be a positive 1. When the negative is basically outside, as in the parentheses would be here. When they're outside there, what would happen is this would be a negative 1 if there's like no parentheses of something to the 0 power. Okay. Now here on this one, this is adding in our multiplication rule. When we multiply powers with like bases, we add our exponents. So I've got 3 plus 0 plus 8. So I'm really not even going to add that. I'm just going to do the 3 and 8. That gets me c to the 11th power. And then my d would be 3 and 9, and that would be d to the 12th power. Number 6. Here's 2 to the 3rd times 2 to the 0. I would add my exponents. That would just stay 2 to the 3rd. M squared times m to the 8th, that would turn to be m to the 10th when I add my exponent. Okay. Down here, 5 to the 0. This is just a 1 now. I can't multiply the 5, so that's just a big 1. I got x to the 3rd times x to the 2nd. I add my exponents. That's going to get me x to the 5th. And in front of that, I'm going to write this 2 and the 3. 2 times 3, that's going to get me 6. I'm going to multiply my big numbers and leave it out front. And then that's going to leave me y to the 6th at the end. 8, negative x to the 6th power times y to the 0 power times x to the 4th power. I would keep the negative in front, and my exponents would be added, even though it's negative, that's okay, for my x's. Oh, x to the 10th, and I wouldn't even write a y because y is now just times 1. And really, any number, you can always say times 1, so we don't necessarily write that down. Number 9, I'm going to simplify the bottom here first. So the top's going to stay the same, x to the 4th, y to the 6th, over x squared times x squared. That's going to turn out to be x to the 4th. See what's happening here. And then y to the 6th will stay there. Then these are going to cancel. 4 minus 4, because they're dividing, I'm going to subtract them. 4 minus 4, that gets me x to the 0. And 6 minus 6 is going to get me y to the 0. It's really going to get me just 1 times 1. This whole answer is just 1. Okay? Hopefully this video helps you with learning special rules and exponents like the 0 power.